As the Rolling Stones said, you can't always get what you want, but sometimes you just might find you get what you need. Mended light. Okay, so one of my favorite things about stories, be it books or films, the best stories all have something in common, which is you have a character who is striving for what they want, and along the way they discover what they actually need.
Okay.
I feel like life is a lot like that. We get hung up on expectations. Our expectations are what we want or what others want for us, and that can be crippling. That can absolutely devastate us. I want to lead out with a clip.
All right, go for it.
Because I'm Super Clip. In case you didn't watch the other videos, I'm Super Clip. It's my new nickname. Make it happen.
Not the same thing as Super Cuts.
No, it's not the same thing as Super Cuts. I'm Super Clips. So, Last Jedi, divisive Star Wars film. I'm a fan. Luke Skywalker saves the universe in Return of the Jedi and is seen as this larger-than-life messiah figure by a lot of people. But at the end of the day, he's just a person who did an extraordinary thing. And when he fails and when he stumbles, he's so ashamed and so fearful that not only will he let people down, but that he will actually hurt people, that he goes into hiding. And the character of Rey, she comes to find him, wants him to be her mentor, and he says no, because he feels like, I will hurt her if I try. I'm a fraud, it's imposter syndrome, I'm a failure. It's the burden of his expectations on himself, as well as what he feels like it means to be a Jedi. It's just too much. And in a moment of being fed up with all these expectations, he goes to torch this tree that has all of the Jedi sacred texts in it. He's like, I'm done.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Oh, he's in a dark place, and this is what happens. That was actually me, not the movie. Bet you couldn't tell the difference.
Master Yoda.
Young Skywalker.
I'm ending all of this. The tree, the text, the Jedi. I'm gonna burn it down.
What he wants to do with his life.
It's like, stop me anytime, Yoda. Really? You're not gonna stop me? He was sure he would. Also, do I really want to?
Skywalker, missed you have I.
So it is time for the Jedi Order to end.
Time it is. For you to look past a pile of old books.
The sacred Jedi texts!
Oh, read them, have you?
Well, I mean...
Page turners, they were not.
Page turners, they were not.
Yes. Wisdom they held, but that library contained nothing that the girl Rey does not already possess. Skywalker. Still looking to the horizon. Never here. Now. The need in front of your nose.
I was weak. Unwise.
Lost Ben Solo. You did. Lose Rey. We must not.
I can't be what she needs me to be.
Heeded my words not, did you? Pass on what you have learned. Strength, mastery, but weakness, folly, failure also. Yes, failure most of all. The greatest teacher, failure is. Luke. We are what they grow beyond. That is the true burden of all masters.
So Luke speaks from the agony of his soul of, I can't be what she needs me to be. And I love Yoda's wisdom of, did you not listen to anything I told you? Pass on what you've learned. Yes, strength, yes, mastery, but also weakness, folly, and failure. The greatest teacher is failure. And that speaks to me a lot because I've shared very publicly here a lot of the weakness, failure, and folly. But what I found through all of that is, first of all, from you, and also from all of you, love and acceptance. You know, I wanted to show up to the world as, I'm a relationship expert, I've got it all figured out, here's the answers, here's how you do it. And what I had to offer was, here's how I screwed up. Here's where I needed to learn, where I needed to grow. You don't have to step in the same traps I stepped in. And it's helped. It's helped so many people. And it speaks to me this notion of expectation is tied to outcome. We want to be a certain way or to have a certain life. And when we don't have that, speaking of worth ties, we may feel like failures and we may feel like we are unworthy.
And for Luke, it's like, well, who am I if I'm not the savior of the galaxy, right? And for you, it's who am I if I'm not a relationship expert?
Yeah. Turns out I'm still a relationship expert, but not in the way that I thought. But you know what? That's fine, because when we talk about expectations and the burden of expectations, that all comes down to outcomes, what others expect of us, what we expect of ourselves. That's what we want. But what the character needed and what we need is growth and healing. And what Yoda is pointing to and what we're pointing to is, you can't control outcomes, but you can focus on your own growth and you can focus on your own healing. And that is something you can control. That is beautiful.
Well, and to give a definition to expect or expectation, it is to wait for with either hope or fear. And a lot of times our expectations are tied to fear or how we'll be seen or who am I. And it's important to realize that the only thing we can control is what we think, do, believe, say. And we can't control that for anyone else. We can influence it, right? But we can't control it. And that is why so often in life we can't control outcomes. And expectation is a space that holds a lot of judgment, right?
Yeah.
And the antidote for that is to shift from expectation to intention.
Yeah.
That I intend to be an integritous version of myself. I intend to be a charitable version of myself. I intend to be an authentic version of myself.
Yeah.
With integrity,
Yeah.
right? And in that light, if we set out to do something and we don't attain a certain outcome, but if we learned and grew along the way, it isn't a failure.
When we focus on expectations, when we focus on outcomes, we're focusing on what we want or what other people want. And in the process, we're denying ourselves what we need. Back to the character of Luke, he's isolated alone on this island. What he needs is to see his failures as opportunities for growth and to pass along. What he's denying himself is that as well as healing, because he's focused on what he wanted and he couldn't have it. So now he's just like cut off.
Going into needs, we need to be seen, accepted, valued, respected, and loved. This looks different for different personality types. There needs to be the safety to be you, to feel your emotions, to express your emotions, and to move through your emotions. And that's what creates actual safety and connection.
Yeah.
Because we all need safe and healthy connection. So what are some of the pitfalls to getting needs met in a healthy way?
I think the biggest pitfall is outsourcing, right? That we're reliant on others to meet our needs, to give us validation, to give us safety or belonging. Don't get me wrong, in a healthy relationship, what a person does, romantic or otherwise, is create a safe space to feel and a safe space to be, and that they honor that and see that and choose that and want that in their lives. However, you can be with someone who gives that to you, and if you're not giving it to yourself, I like to say, you're like a bucket with a hole in it.
Yeah. It'll never be enough.
It'll never be enough. People can give you love and affection and validation and belonging and acceptance, and it'll just leak out the bottom. you're the only one who can plug that hole. And you do that by giving it to yourself first.
So you ended that sentence with, you have to give it to yourself first.
Yeah.
Right? And here's my perspective on that. Like, we need healthy environments of unconditional love.
Yes.
That is not the environment most of us have experienced.
No.
We've experienced, here's how I earn my acceptance. Here's how I earn my belonging. Here's the things that I do or how I show up to be good enough or worthy. And in reality, you have innate worth. We all have innate worth. In reality, we're also all human, and we have coping mechanisms, and we show up in our humanness. And there's parts of ourselves that we've learned either through direct or indirect feedback that we've been taught, this part of me isn't good enough, or this part of me isn't worthy. And I call those the rejected parts of ourselves.
Yeah.
When someone shows up in a relationship, romantic or friend or family or otherwise, even therapeutic,
Yeah.
right? And says, I see you, I accept you, and I love you just as you are. That opens up a whole possibility. But we have to implement that for ourselves, right? If you show up, let's say you're my therapist, and you set that example, for me, and I talk about my greatest fears, and I talk about my greatest insecurities, and I go on this journey where you're walking alongside of me, right?
Yeah.
But you can't take the journey for me. You can't do it for me.
Okay.
Like, I have to do it for myself.
So in other words, we have to give it to ourselves. So what role do we play for each other? Like, what can we do for one another to support that process?
You can create a safe space for me by being a safe person where you see me, you accept me, but none of that will be enough until I can learn to implement that into my own life, and I accept that. And that's the plugging the hole
Yeah.
of I am worthy just as I am. It reminds me of, I think, a Buddhist proverb. And if I butcher it, I'm sorry.
Okay.
But it is, I am perfect as I am, and there is room for growth.
Yeah.
And that acknowledges my innate worthiness and the opportunity to grow if I so choose.
Yeah. Folks, what are you doing for the next, 15 minutes? We've got a video that dives deep into this very subject and uncovers more layers. It's called Intentions versus Expectations. It's here on screen. Link is also in the description below. So go ahead and click on that and enjoy the next video. And we want to hear from you. What were your big takeaways from this video? And also, what would you add? Are there things that we missed or that you just want to add to the conversation? Again, let us know right down there. Until next time, folks, keep shining.
We need your light.